Technology, so I got your title wrong. Supervisor of Technology for Lincoln Elementary in Calumet City. He also teaches at the University of St. Francis, classes in educational technology. He was a classroom teacher for 5 years in computers and business before switching over to instructional tech. We invited him. He's got some fantastic resources for you guys. He is the Smart Exemplary Educator for 2012, which means he won out of everybody in the whole country. He's the best teacher. That's the best way to put it, right? He's the best. He is Smart Certified in every single thing you could possibly be certified in, which means to be paid smart enough, a lot of money, which is a lot of class. He presents all over the state. He does keynote presentations like this. He's also the founder of a couple websites, Mike's Technology Closet and Smarter Classroom, where he posts resources for teachers to find and talks about effective ways to use your smartboard. He's actually working on writing a book about using instructional technology effectively, and hopefully we can give you some ideas. So I'd like to introduce Mike McGowan. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad I was able to come out and work with you guys this morning. What our focus on Keynote, first, can everybody hear me? Because if I can go without a microphone, I usually prefer it, just because I'm a loud talker. The goal today is we are going to talk about a smarter future in education. Okay, we're going to talk about, I'm going to throw a lot of different ideas to you. Some of these are kind of precursors to other topics I'm going to talk about today, so you'll get a little bit of a taste. At times, some of this you're going to go, wait, this isn't connected at all between the topics. It will all come back together at the very end, okay? There's one, well, when we get to that part, for who are QR code junkies, these QR codes will come back at the end. If you want, these are just links to my websites. I will talk again at the end about those, but I know putting this up at the beginning, some people will run around with their tablets and smartphones and snap those off before we get started. You know, we kind of did learn a little bit about myself. Yet again, QR codes, my information will pop up at the end. I'm always open to anybody who has questions, comments, concerns about technology in general. It doesn't necessarily have to be smart. Smart is a big focus of mine, but some of the other things about here is, like I said, Smart Exemplary Educator of the Year for the U.S. I'm also an educational consultant for New Dimension Media, which is a video streaming company. I hate to ever use the other company's name, but they are the #1 competitor to Discovery Streaming. So if you've never heard of New Dimension Media, you now know what they're a part of. And I am now also the president-elect for ICEGym, so which is the southern subset of ICE. So I get involved. The one thing, and also I am a Google certified trainer. So I go around all over and teach about Google Apps and education. The reason I bring all this up, if I believe in something, I go in full force on this. I have an extremely addictive behavior, and education is what I'm addicted to. So if I become a trainer on it, I speak on it, it is something I truly believe in. My email address is there. That's one way to contact me. Like I said, write it down. I'll have it back up at the end. Feel free to ever email me with questions, comments, or concerns. The one thing, I have a couple different philosophies on how I deal with technology. And this is the first one, that technology in education is not the future, it is now. Okay. So many times I walk into schools and people talk about, oh, we're looking at doing this. Oh, you know, the kids don't need tablets yet, they don't need a one-to-one computing environment. That's the future. That's way down the road. It's not, it's now. Okay. To talk a little bit about my school just for a second with this, my school is currently one-to-one with netbooks from 4th through 8th grade, which is about 650 kids. Okay? We have smart boards currently in 64 of our classrooms. Next year, we will be in 73 of our classrooms, which will be 100% plus a couple extras in the buildings. We have currently over 1,000 devices that are smart response systems, between clickers. We make all of our netbooks are smart response systems. We have classroom audio systems in all of our rooms. I'm a huge believer in video use in the classroom, and that includes the audio component. A student gets a lot of information visually, they get a lot of information audibly. Okay? If I'm a teacher standing at the front of the room, and that kid in the back of the room can't hear me, that is a problem. Even if it's the smartest kid in the class, they're going to have problems. So that's why we put classroom audio systems in. We have document cameras in almost all of our rooms. Okay. Now, you can sit there and say, well, wow, that must be a rich school district, or they have a lot of funders, or however did this happen? I will tell you right now, my district, we are over 90% free and reduced. We only can charge fees to about 20 of my 1,100 students. Okay? So we do not have fees coming in. You say, well, then how do you afford all this nice new technology? Because I will tell you, you walk into my building, good luck telling me that you have found a school anywhere in the country that's got more technology than we do. And it's through teachers fighting for money, fighting for grants, myself writing grants. I write roughly 50 grants a year. I am lucky to get one. Okay? You have to be persistent. Websites like Donors Choice, or Donors Choose, or whatever it's called, Digital Wish, things of those natures, go for it. Don't be afraid. Now, granted, your district, now I'm saying this, in your district they have rules about who can write grants and how you get them, stuff like that, so don't go breaking those rules, but go for it. If you've got, do we have any administrators in the room? Okay, good, I could rip on you because there's only one of you. And I'll tell you right now, I am a building administrator. In my district, I am an administrator in my building. I am not like my other administrators. Okay? It's the idea, if you go to your administration and you say, hey, we want smart boards for our classrooms, we want smart response systems, because I will tell you right now, smart board, #1 tool in my classrooms, teachers would kill me if I took them out of any of their rooms. Smart response systems are #2, audio systems #3. Go for it, ask for it, because, and here's the thing, if an administrator says, yeah, you know what, I've got $1,000, but you know what, let's wait till I get like 5,000, I can buy 5 boards, I can do all this other stuff. Don't let them do that. Buy a board, buy a smart response system. You all know what's going to happen. I save up $1,000. Great, I can buy a smart board, but we're going to wait. Okay, now you get $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. Okay, one more $1,000, $5,000, and we can now get 5 smart boards. What happens? The roof leaks. Boom, there goes your money. Okay? Force your administrators, well, try, I mean, obviously I'm saying force, but really push, buy when you have the money. And that's what we did. We took the opportunity, step by step, to buy what we can. And our big purchase next year is we're actually taking all of our kindergarten through 3rd grade are now getting tablets, these tablets. Okay? I have another 500 students with one-to-one devices in my building. Okay? What we did with this, we saved money. We're taking a hit to our ed fund, because here's the thing. If you're unaware of this, you might be, might not. How many of you have heard that the PARCC test is coming? The replacement for ISAT. Guess what? This is how you take the test. Okay? You could take it on the desktop, don't get me wrong. You could use a netbook, which we have, and that's why our 3rd graders are getting these to go along with the tablets. But the idea is that PARCC test is online. There are no paper pencil tests, unless special needs students need the paper. Other than that, it is online. So when you've got districts saying, well, we don't have the money for technology, we need to work on stuff like this, they don't have time. Because here's the thing. You all know, and you hate it, I hate it, you put the kids, you always have 90% of your tests are A, B, C, D, paper, pencil, and it's the idea to get their brains working towards taking those standardized tests. Here's the problem. You get the technology, the year of the PARCC test, they will not know how to take a digital test. My 1st graders last year took their first set of tests online that they've never done. I forced my teachers to start giving tests online. The kids didn't know what to do. They were having trouble scrolling. Think of your little kids. All of a sudden they go into our computer lab. They're used to this technology. They walked into our computer lab. We're trying to take the test by pushing the monitor. They can't do that. So here's the thing. Now you put them in a lab for the PARCC test, and they're touching the monitor. And you can't help them. Okay? So that's kind of my soapbox there on spending money. But make sure you're pushing, because like I said, the technology is now. So what are we going to talk about here for the next 20 minutes or so? We're going to talk just briefly about student thinking. Okay, we talked about, it was mentioned that I'm looking at writing a book about effective educational technologies. This first section is the reason the book's in delay, because it's chapter 1. I've got the whole rest of the book in my mind, but chapter 1. Because what I want to do is I've been doing a lot of research on the way students' brains work and about how that all comes into play. It's fascinating. Okay, but now I'm trying to put it all together. So we're going to talk just briefly about that. We're going to talk about the 21st student, not the 21st century student. We're going to talk about the 21st student. Okay, and you'll understand that a little bit more. We're going to talk about the building year, which will come out of that. If you know what a C is, great. If you don't, you will. And then we're going to talk about the rules. Okay, and that's how I'll end, and hopefully you'll enjoy that. That's kind of my big opening that I usually use. Okay, now, I will tell you there was a little example I wanted to do with Smart Response VE, but we ran into a small glitch this morning. So this isn't working quite so well, but I'll kind of talk through this. So I'm going to skip. Just think about this question for a second. Okay, don't answer it. Just think. We will come back. And think about this quickly. Okay. Some of you, if you're a math teacher, you're like, oh, no problem, I've got that and working at my brain. Art teachers, a lot of language arts teachers, I know you already got pen and paper going. You know, it's nothing against you guys. I'm a math person. Okay, language arts can't do it. World's worst stuff. Okay, everybody's got to proofread and stuff. So, just give me a second. Okay. I am a big believer in using videos in education. Okay, I do not believe in showing a whole video for a classroom. Okay, when I say video in education, I'm not talking about kids walk in, sit down, we're going to watch a movie today, tomorrow, and we're going to use about 15 minutes the next day, and then we'll just have free time because we don't know how long the movie's going to go. You know, but I do believe in using videos, so I do a lot of videos. So let's go ahead and watch this for a second.
The monkey business solution.
Real quick, if anybody has seen this in the past, please do not say anything. Okay? Forgot to preface that before.
Count how many times the players wearing white pass the ball.
Okay, this is supposed to be one of the great times when we're using Smart Response VE. So, how many times did the people in white pass the ball? I'm hearing 10, I'm hearing 6, I'm hearing 16. Anything else? Okay. So, some of you are shouting out the right answer. Okay. Okay, but hold on. We're not done.
The correct answer is 16 passes. Did you spot the gorilla? For people who haven't seen or heard about a video like this before, about half missed the gorilla. If you knew about the gorilla, you probably saw it. But did you notice the curtain changing color or the player on the black team leaving the game? Let's rewind and watch it again. Here comes the gorilla, and there goes a player, and the curtain is changing from red to gold. When you're looking for a gorilla, you often miss other unexpected events. And that's the monkey business illusion.
Okay, so how many of you saw
Learn more about this illusion and the original gorillas.
Okay, so how many of you saw the gorilla? Okay, and that's fine. It's first time I watched that, I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, there was a gorilla? What? You know, and when I first did this, we had a bigger discussion time to talk about how many people there were, or how many balls were passed, all that other stuff. Here's the reason I bring this up. It is proven. How many times have you heard the words when you're walking through the mall and you see a whole group of teenagers, middle of the mall, texting each other as they're standing next to each other, with earbud in one ear, you know, and they're talking to each other and they actually know what is going on. Okay, you've seen this. What do we call them? Okay, studies have shown there is no such thing as multitasking. Okay? Now, there are a small percent. They say that there is roughly 2% of the people in the world are what they call supertaskers. They are people who can do what we call multitasking. Okay? And basically the studies have shown that the biggest groups of people that can do that, air traffic controllers and video production people. Okay? Because they're constantly watching a million things at one time and know what's going on. We posed at a conference once about this, that, well, are effective teachers multitaskers or supertaskers? Because how many times are you facing your board and you know what's going on behind you? Okay? That is just weird. Okay, that people, that it's probably, and the kids are, what? I don't understand. But that's the thing. What they're showing is kids are not, and people today are not multitaskers. They're quick switchers. That more now than ever, people can switch between tasks quicker than they ever have before. Okay? And I could go in more if you want to talk during lunch or during a break. I can talk to you even so much more about what that means and how the studies are proving it. It is fascinating research. Okay? And this is the stuff I'm all putting together in my books on hold. So hopefully one day you guys will hear, hey, I remember when you talked about writing that book 20 years from now. We can talk more, but that's the thing you have to at least to understand. Walk away from this section of this understanding that kids are working in different fashions now. They need new ways of learning. The traditional way, and I'll tell you now, I've never walked through this building, so please, if I don't mean to insult anybody in any way, shape, or form by saying this, but in my building, it drives me nuts to walk down a hallway, look into a classroom that is still designed in rows, teacher desk at the front of the room, with their smartboard being used as a fancy projection screen. That drives me nuts. The kids cannot learn the traditional way of walking in, sit down, okay, we're going to learn today. One thing we're going to talk about, how many of you have heard of flipped teaching? It is the greatest thing ever, and here's the funniest thing is, so many of us have done it, thought about it, learned about it, have tried it, and now it's the new thing. No, it's not. Okay? There's so many things in education that they claim are new that are called relabeled. So let's talk just for a quick second. If we had Smart Response VE coming up, you would be responding to these. And the reason I bring these up, okay, and I put the question up, if there's a bunch of administrators in the building, I know if I asked you by a show of hands, how many people say you feel that all your administrators in your building can use technology as well as you administrators? But the thing is, if there's a bunch of administrators in the room, you're afraid to raise your hand. Or you would raise your hand because it says how many of you feel this way. Okay, administrator, what do you mean? I use Word. I send emails. No, that's not technology. That's world today. 10, 15 years ago, that might have been technology, but not now. What I wanted to show was with the power of something like Smart Response VE, you're getting true anonymous results. And people are more willing to tell you the truth. And let's go to this problem. Okay, how many times in a math class, any class, you put a problem like this on the board? You say, okay, who's got the answer? Raise your hand. First kid answers. Answers 4. Sorry, it's not right. Okay, good try though. Let's go on to the next person. Next person raises their hand. You still got 15 people with their hands up in the air. Someone says 6. Great. Okay, we got the right answer. Let's move on. How do we know those other 15 people have the right answer? We don't. But something like Smart Response VE and what I would have shown is how everybody in the room would have answered. Okay? Now we truly know, there's the differentiation. We really know how every kid in that room is doing. That is the power of stuff like Smartboard, Smart Response VE. The technology in the classrooms now. By doing stuff like this, it's the power. I will tell you, you put an administrator in front of me, give me 20 minutes. I will convince any administrator you need to buy Smart Response VE. Or Smart Response in general, not necessarily VE. I've yet to have an administrator come back to me afterwards and say, I still can't afford that $1,000 for a set. Yet, I've never had that happen. Now, I've had them turn me down and say, well, I can't buy 20 cents. But I can at least show one because outside of just this, getting instant feedback from that whole class, know where we are, guide my teaching based off of instant questions, I can also show them reports that will blow their minds. How many of you have administrators, quarterly assessments, monthly assessments, however you break them out, say, give me your data, and you go home at night, and you're correlating which standard goes with which question to give your administrators and say, here are how my kids are doing. Okay? It is so time consuming. And some teachers just say, I don't do it. I know they're doing okay on graphs. I know they're kind of getting the properties of math, all this other stuff. With Smart Response, instantly I know how every one of my kids in any of my rooms is doing on any standard. And the teachers spend an extra 5 seconds per question when they're building this. So whoever I think Nick is coming in to do response, he will talk about it, I hope. But he knows for years I've been drilling on it. Smart Response 2012, here's a nice little plug for it, has basically cut my response presentation in half. Because a lot of what I used to teach is now built into Smart Response. Okay, so I love them for that, and I gave them kudos, and there was also a feature request I put in once a week. Now, talking about the 21st student. Okay. When I talk about the 21st student, now, I use a small number like 21 because in a perfect society, we all wish we had 20 kids in a classroom, but we know that's not happening. My building, we average about 28 to 29 kids in class. Okay, so it's not coming. So I use the word 21, but that's fine. There's 21 kids in the classroom. Okay. We have a situation, is there any difference when you're teaching a class and you've got the difference between a sick kid and a struggling student in your class? Is there really any difference about the kid not being there or the kid struggling in the back? It's the same thing. So we talk about the 21st kid. I have 20 kids in class this day. One kid's absent. Who do I teach to? Anybody can throw that out. 21 kids in the class, one kid's absent. Who do I teach to that day? You say that, but what do you do about the one kid who's not there? You got to be able to teach him too, or her. Okay, now, am I saying, oh man, one kid's absent, okay, no teaching today? Because he said, teach the kid who's absent. No. You have to use technology to your advantage to teach and make sure that kid who's not there can get caught up. Okay? Now, what I'm asking for, in theory, is a little bit of your time when it comes to making this practice work. Okay? It's not a simple thing to do. It is not, well, hey, I can have this done in 5 minutes. There is a little bit of work involved. But if you can reach the kid who's absent, it makes your class powerful, even for the kid who's struggling in your classroom. Okay. One way, there's a bunch of different ways to do this, but this is one way. It is the concept of flipped teaching. Okay? It's a modified version of flipped teaching. We have this math problem. Okay, it is a little different than the other one, so the answer is not 6. But this is just an example. Math is an easy one for this. I'm teaching the lesson of how to solve this problem. I have a kid absent. We all know if you've taught this, this is not the easiest concept to teach, and a kid who's absent really needs some one-on-one attention to make sure they understand this. But by using the tools that are available to you, you can teach this to a kid who's not there. Here's one example, nothing fancier than adding a new page in Notebook. Here's our problem. There's step 1. Step 2, 3. I do apologize for the sloppy writing. I did this without a smartboard, so I'm doing this with a mouse. But here's the thing. Kid's absent. I save this notebook file. I email it to them, put it on my class webpage. They now have it. Struggling student who is in your room, but now you're breaking off to work in a small group, because RTI, tracking. So now we have the small group over here. But I need to see this again. I don't understand. I'm working with this group. But here, go up to the board, go to my class page, do something, get this notebook file. Let's step through this step by step, because there's a chance they're just missing one step. That maybe, okay, they distributed, but maybe they didn't combine like terms. And they realized, hey, wait, there's the problem. But by stepping this, all I did, clone the page, do the next step. Clone the page, do the next step. What's the other thing you noticed I did here between every step? Color change. Color is so powerful. When you have an unlimited number of colors available at your fingertips when you're teaching, that's awesome. In math, every step is a new color. In language arts, if I'm teaching this skill, so what's a verb, what's a subject, what's an adjective, you better believe my nouns are one color, verbs are another, adjectives are another. So every time that student goes, hey, I see green, that means that's an adjective. Okay? So the power of color. We go one step further. Here's part of the planning stage. Instead of doing each individual page, use the page recorder. It's recording everything I'm doing. Okay? This is what my next session's about. We're going to talk about the recorders. Okay? We've got the page recorder, but there's no audio. Let's go one step further.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and solve
Use the smart recorder.
The first step we're going to do is we need to distribute the 5. So we're going to multiply 5 times x and 5 times -1, which then gives...
So now, all you need is a $2 microphone hooked up to your computer, and you walk through your process. Now the kids audibly hear you, and with the smart recorder, yet again we'll talk about in the next session, you can record more than just smart notebook. Okay? But you can also record audio. That is just 3 simple ways to teach the kid who's not there, or the struggling student. You don't understand it, hit play. You don't understand, hit the next page. Okay? Post it to your webpage and you have it. Okay? Now, I'm running out of time and I'm going to speed through this a little bit. But here's one of the concepts to go with this. It took a while. This is that building year I was talking about. If you are used to this, it drives me nuts when I still walk into a classroom. Smartboard's not even turned on, but I see a whole bunch of writing on the whiteboard. Okay? This cannot be saved. You fill this up. This is a filled up whiteboard. You have to erase it to move on. Smart notebook, just keep adding pages. I've yet to figure out if there's a limit to smart notebook. Smart hasn't told me there is, so I don't believe there is. Keep adding pages. Who cares if it's just one extra word on a page? Adding one more page does not increase the size of your file all that much, unless you put video in it. Okay? So keep going. So yes, the building year, the first year you do this, excuse my words, it sucks. You have to put in so much extra work that first year because you have to record. You have to build your lessons in a new way. I'll tell you right now, when I went through the Smart Lesson Development certification, it wasn't anything new, but it was a way of using what I've always known, using smart technology. It was amazing to understand, well, why didn't I think of that? The idea that my teacher file should be different than the file my students get if I'm teaching along with them, using Smart Notebook SE. Okay? We talked about that. It's like, wow, that's mind-opening. Okay? So, the building year, I can talk to you more about this during a break or whatever, but it's the idea, yes, the first year you have to put in the time. You have to put in the work. Okay? But the following year, really, what subject changes from year to year? If you're a social studies teacher, you get made fun of all the time because your content is not changed. It can't change, in a sense. Math, the concept's still there, just different problems. Language arts, your stories might change, but the concepts are there. To make those small tweaks are fine. It's easier to make the tweaks later than to rebuild every single year. Okay, and I can talk about how you would set up your files and everything else when we talk. Okay, this side note, see, how many of you know what this means to be a C? Is there any C's in the room? Okay, what this means, smart, exemplary, educated. Okay, you'll hear C's, it drives my wife nuts because I always will occasionally use the word C and then she's like, what are you talking about? The reason I bring this up, okay, none of you raise your hands when you're saying you're a C. Here's the, how many of you have had a smartboard for more than 2 years? Okay, how many for more than 1? Okay, how many of you are brand new to smart? Wow, okay, that's a little more hands than I thought. Okay, if you've had a board for more than a year or 2, chances are, if you use it for more than a projection screen, you are a C. You are a smart exemplary educator, you just don't have the title. Okay? All a C means is you believe in the smart product, you're using it effectively, and you continue to try to learn on it. If you're here, you're trying to learn, you're bettering yourself. Right now, the application process is open to become a C for the next month. They took the hardest component out, make a video. It's gone, it's all typing now. If you feel that you've used a smart, if you're presenting today, you need to apply, okay? Because you obviously believe in the smart product, or you would not be training on it. I encourage you because most people, even in my building, oh man, see, you know, you're so much, you know, you do so much more with the smart board than I do. Yes, because I live and breathe the smart board. You have other things to worry about, you know, in your classroom. You don't have the time I have to work on the smart board, but you still are phenomenal when you're using it, okay? Apply, okay? And then I want to leave you with one last concept.
Sorry, I just have, could you maybe tell them what some of the opportunities you've gotten from being a C?
I can do that.
Sorry.
No, that's good. Because incentives are always good. When you become a C, you get opportunities for free training, certified training, not just, hey, here's a free day of something. You can become a certified something afterwards. Occasionally, products do come your way. Right now, software licensing is coming your way. If you get this C application, you can get, I think it's either Smart Math, maybe Smart Response VE. They just changed some of this, so I'm a little, but there's a couple licensings. I know the 3D tool is available for those of you who become Cs. And here's the other thing, and I don't know if they're still giving this, but nifty little bag. So it's, but here's the thing. This is probably the best benefit to date of becoming a C. And you get recognition, you get a chance to get, how many of you sign up for the Ed Compass newsletter, the monthly smart newsletter? Okay. Sign up, it's free. It comes once a month. There's actually very good stuff in it. I'll be talking about that in my last session today. And you can be featured in there. They write up articles. I've been in there a couple times, and they've got me coming in for a couple more articles soon. The coolest thing to date, I am getting in the end of July an all expenses paid free 1-week trip to Smart Headquarters for an intense week of smart training. But here's the thing. I've talked to other people who've done this trip. They say they work you like a dog from the morning until mid-afternoon, and then they treat you like kings the rest of the day, okay? I'm looking forward to it, and actually I also have the luxury, because of being the C of the Year, I'm also going to the European Summit in Hamburg, Germany, okay? So there are some benefits, okay? One of the things, one of my other friends, who's also a C, who's going with us to Canada, her whole holdup for putting in the application, I can't afford a trip to Canada. That's expensive. It's airfare, hotel, all sorts of stuff. No, zero, no dollars. We talked to somebody who went, they said the only money they spent the whole week was to get something in the airport on the way out, okay? That's a benefit of being a C, and that happens every year, okay? So just some incentive there for you. What I want to do is leave you with this one last video. I will tell you, yes, I do teach for the University of St. Francis. This is a commercial for Kaplan University. It's the message of the commercial. And then we'll leave with one quote, and then you go off to your sessions.
I stand before you today to apologize. The system has failed you. I have failed you. I have failed to help you share your talent with the world when the world needs talent more than ever, yet it's being wasted every day by an educational system steeped in tradition and old ideas. It was time for a new tradition.
It's time to realize talent isn't just in schools like this one, it's everywhere.
It's time to use technology to rewrite the rules of education.
To learn how you learn so we can teach you better.
It's time university adapted to you rather than you adapting to it.
It's time for a different kind of university.
It's your time.
Who knew Philip Banks from Fresh Prince could be so powerful speaker? But that's what I want to leave you with. It's time to rewrite the rules of education, and the time is now. Now is the time that we do what they say. Education needs to adapt to the student, not the student to the teacher, not the student to education. Thank you.